Battle paused.
Alright, normally
started.
Okay, thank you, Allison. Normally, I don't do this. Normally, whenever I cover a match of Beyond Our Reason, I will try to switch it up in between the different days that I do a cast. We do a cast basically every single day, by the way, in case you'd like to join the Primers community. But today, we're going to be taking a look at another match on Star Watcher. This match had a lot going for it, and I thought it would be an interesting opportunity to take a look at what a high-level match looks like after just having taken a look at a low-level match. So without further ado, we have our blue and red team, and our blue commander spawning as a Legion commander, looking very sexy, wearing that beautiful Legion armor, and with that disintegrator cannon and heat ray pulsar in the other hand. It's gonna be none other than Timko Bob. Timko Bob clocking in at 50 open skill and setting the bar for the blue team. Gonna be showing us what they've got as a good old-fashioned Legion vehicle player. Now, Legion vehicles is an interesting choice, and I am very excited to get into all of that, but we first, of course, have to meet our red team leader. Spawning on the other side of the map, spawning as a good old-fashioned Cortex commander, it's none other than Nikotan. Nikotan clocking in at 52 open skill, but only 4 Chev, as opposed to Timko Bob's 50, but with silver Chevs. Gonna be a little bit of a battle of experience versus a battle of the skill. I still think about sometimes, there was one comment a long time ago, there was one comment that said something to the effect of, like, if you have tons of chevrons but low OS, I pointed out that it does mean you have a lot of experience, you just haven't won a lot of games, and someone said something along the lines of, oh great, a commander who's been bad for longer. I still think about that. I feel like it's kind of flawed logic, but I still think that's very funny. Nikotan, gonna be the red Cortex commander, spawning with actually nobody in front of them. Yeah, in this position on Star Watcher, you kind of have an open lane, which is kind of cool. It means the red commander is gonna have tons and tons of resources. For the blue team, it's gonna be the purple commander, Evangelion, actually, who does have the Evangelion. I've always said Evangelion, but then I heard somebody say Evangelion, and that actually kind of feels like it makes more sense. The purple commander here, the Armada 33 open skill silver chevron hero, is going to be the one fighting along this big open lane right here into the midsection of Star Watcher. Now, I have assumed that you've watched every single cast that I have ever put out, or at the very least the very last one, but if you haven't, it was another match on Star Watcher where we did get to watch some lower level players take a crack at this map. And it's a hard one. It is definitely a very, very difficult one for new players, because one of the things that you have to do early on in this game is be super aggressive with your scouts. And we saw a little bit of it, but it was certainly a little bit one-sided with the scouts. We saw a lot more damage from one team than the other. But this is perfect right here. I mean, this is ideally what you're looking for. Rogue constructors that have been sent out on the map to try and do some a little bit of early aggressive expanding and trying to pick those off one by one. Now, we do have a nice defense right here, as there are some rovers in position to defend. Trying anyway. Oh man, those ticks are pesky. Wow, the ticks actually get the constructor. Okay, well, we're off to a ripping start now. That's certainly a boost right here, an ego boost for Plateau Spa. I'm gonna go with Plateau Spa, the Seafoam Green commander right here. We also have a little bit of Rover Rascal action in the backline here. These Cortex Rovers gonna be making their way across the map into the backline here of the maroon base. Okay, Grunt is produced right out of the lab and directly into the face of that rascal, luckily clearing that up nicely and allowing this constructor to get back to work building this construction tower in due time. Alright, all said and done, the aggression has been all on the side here of the red team. It is their turn to rebuttal with a couple of rascal that are headed across the map, about to intercept with a light laser tank. Ooh, just barely gets one shot off, but doesn't manage to kill them. Okay. Couple of rascals in the backline. They can do a little bit of damage. They have a slightly amped up damage beam from the latest update. They also are pretty quick, which means they can outrun most units that are trying to catch up with them. Basically a perfect surround right here. I love that. For these yellow rascals, will they be enough here to take out this constructor though? Rascals have, or constructors rather, have quite a lot of HP. Ooh, some wheelies here to try and intercept. Wheelies are the Legion scout vehicle. 2, 3, boom goes the constructor. All right, an eye for an eye. As we do already have the scout plane headed across here as well. If we switch to the red team vision, pardon me, the blue team vision, we can see this is exactly what they found right here. All right, very nice scouts. So far, yellow, maroon, red, pink, hot pink, brown, and finally, ultimately, the tan commander. And it looks like the orange commander will also be revealed. Okay, perfect scout right here for the blue team. That's wonderful. And very important. Easy to underestimate just how important that is, but that early scout means that follow-up bombing runs are going to be much more deadly, as they actually have targets to go after. And of course, it's not like this scout plane is done, right? It's still moving, it's still grooving, and it's still finding where each and every one of these commanders is on the front line, eventually shot down by the missile truck here but not before revealing a gigantic swath of the map and, well, allowing the blue team to make some very educated guesses as to where they can set up their front lines and just about how aggressively they can play. Bacon Dude, 1786.5 or 17,865. Bacon Dude, the 17,865th. Is that how I'm supposed to read that? Boy, what a mouthful there. Gonna be setting up a little bit of a frontline production center. It looks like we're going for a lot of build power right here. That's 3 construction turrets, which for the early game is drastic overkill. Hell no. Says the Pink Commander. Okay, we're okay. Pink Commander grabbing this mechs here. It looks like the we're gonna have a little bit of a reclaim battle of the constructors right here, but the construction vehicle has ever so slightly more build power. I will say the yellow commander controls the entire front line. Is this single mech's gonna make or break the entire game? I'm not sure, but it definitely sets the red team's morale on a rough foot. 6 minutes into the game, and without even a commander sacrifice, we have the red commander going into a good old-fashioned T2 co-op vehicle lab. This has been the stock standard for a little while here on the Beyond a Reason upper tier ladder. We have some missile truck harassment on the bottom side, but that's pretty easily countered by a couple of these good old-fashioned walls and sticking some rocketeers behind them. Those missile trucks have a really hard time firing towards these walls because their missiles oftentimes will collide with them. Rocket bots can sort of hide behind them as well, which makes them very, very ideal for using that cover. It makes it a very one-sided fight right here as those missile trucks shoot the concrete and the rocket bots fire away at, of course, well, the actual units here. Some lobbers, or rather Satyr, up on the hill here firing away as well. Those light plasma bots, very pesky, very annoying to deal with. A Step Abby, not sure exactly, but will be, moving up here to try and shut all this down. Why is that paralyzed for 60 seconds? Oh, probably just because it was building. Okay, I see. That was, that looked very strange for just a second there. Aggression is mounting right here for the blue team on the southern side. We do have that T2 laboratory started up here for the green commander, the lime green commander as well. A little bit of commander blocking right there, trying to block the units with the widest laboratory there is. It's of course going to be the hovercraft lab. Zartank is out and running, and it's going to be all that's needed to push every single ounce of this back. Yep, there you go. You can see in just a single shot, obliterating basically everything in this front line. Hornet Pro gonna be forced back. I don't think this is actually Hornet. There was a commander that went by the name of Hornet a while back. Has not been around the Beyond a Reason community for a little while. Would love to see Hornet's return, by the way. That would be like the return of the king. Yeah, Hornet Pro I don't believe is the same Hornet that we know and love. A different Hornet, maybe a tribute Hornet. But going to be taking some heavy hits from this Zartank as it fires away right here. Hard to escape the wrath of the Zard. It has so much range, does so much damage, and in about 5 shots can kill a commander. And even if the commander is cloaked, it does of course have that giant AoE on it, so even if it misses by a little bit, it's still going to do tons of damage to the comp. So this is all of a sudden a pretty rough situation. Wouldn't mind seeing this con turret actually being used to claim this commander right here. May as well try and salvage as much of this metal from the front as possible. I hope the blue team is paying attention and feeding Plateau Spa as much energy as we can in order to save this front line here. The answer may surprise you as we watch this Zar fire away, and none of that metal was reclaimed. Ugh. The commander died just within range of that con turret. It really would have been nice to salvage some of that metal. At least a couple hundred of that metal could have gone back to the Seafoam Green commander here, which would have been very nice for, well, helping with that stabilization ever so slightly. For those of you that did watch the last cast, if you didn't, then I guess it's a good time to say pause and go back before I spoil anything. If you'd like to go check it out, you're more than welcome to. It will have been the video just before this. You're very welcome. That was a very long slog. It was about a 40-minute battle, and we stayed on T1 for a entirely much too long of a time here. Whereas you can see the difference here as the pros are playing. Virtually every line is up to T2 by the 9-minute mark. We have T2 labs up and running here for everyone on the red team, or every lane on the red team here. T2 lab up and running for the yellow commander, T2 up and running for a while now from the red commander, going for these T2 mexes, and now we finally have T2 finishing here on the southern side for Bacon Dude and Code Phoenix 0. That's the power of teamwork, and it's an important power to remember because obviously teamwork makes the dream work, and if you have a little bit of teamwork, it goes a long way because you can get those labs up, oh, I don't know, maybe 20%, 30% faster than normal. But it means a lot to keep those commanders alive, of course, and also using them on the front line for a little bit of damage. Zartank now firing back here. We have a counter Zartank from the green commander, Meow Cat Meow, the 44 open skill silver chevron hero here on the blue team. A lot of silver chefs on the blue team here versus just the silver tail chefs for the red team.
Commander destroyed.
All right, 1 commander kill for this Tsar for the green team. Now the Tsar is forced into a defensive role. Going to go down south here and try and blast away a bunch of these. Unfortunately, when you're using the Tsar, you don't actually reclaim a bunch of the metal. And you can see it does so much damage that it basically atomizes any of these T1 units. Doesn't really give you much of a chance to do anything, to reclaim much of them. It is an unfortunate trade-off for getting such a high-powered unit, is that it pretty much overkills every single thing in the T1 laboratory here. Anti-air tower, or anti-air truck rather, has been set up right here, and that's quite nice, of course. Those anti-air trucks, super useful. Radar truck does go down here as well, which is quite nice, because obviously it's one of the few things that can detect a commander, not to mention radar, actual radar towers, of course. But that truck is very nice for the vision that it contributes as well, which now the red Tsar is lacking. What a spicy back and forth battle between these two Tsars. What's going on the northern side? It looks like, oh, okay, we have a Legion commander going up against a core. Amputator area control cluster artillery is coming up and running right here for Porthos. I think very quickly Porthos is about to learn right here that even those fancy T1 static defenses that Legion does have at its disposal are going to pale in comparison to a good old-fashioned T2. Southern side, what a graveyard right here, as we've got more and more gladiators rolling out of the laboratory here. It looks like we did have the Cyan commander go down, but Timko Bob is eager to eat it up, as you often should be. Eat your friends, kids. Remember, eat your friends. Pass the word along. The Brightworks told you to eat your friends, like and subscribe.
Commander destroyed.
Cannot wait for the ramifications of that clip. Any hoodle, though. Tsars are pushing forward, and now we've got two, count them, 2 Tsars on the front. For the green commander, Meow Cat Meow. 44 open skill and going to be pushing forward, creeping slowly forward with those Tsars. One-shotting LLTs is pretty brutal. We have an Armada T2 laboratory coming up here. Okay. One of the primary counters to the Tsar is the Starlight. That must be what we were thinking here, going for another T2 laboratory. I can't imagine why otherwise.
Destroyed.
Red commander does fall rather quickly here, as of course those Tsar do so much damage to those comms. So we've already seen a couple of times this game, and I believe we will probably see a couple more. Those Tsar's not quite done yet either. Those Banishers firing away are quite nice, but they are kind of a damage over time unit. They don't really, not actually a DOT unit, but they're like they're a value over time. They have to fire and then retreat and then fire again and retreat again. They take a long time to get their value, whereas the Tsar can pretty much roll out of the lab and start firing right away. Purple and blue commanders rolling tanks down the southern side. We have gladiators firing away right here. The orange commander. Yeah. One of the nice things, gladiators are kind of strange. They don't work very well. But one of the nice things about them is that they are pretty cheap. At 450 metal apiece, at least relative to vehicles anyway, they are very, very cheap. And it means that you can spam a whole bunch of them out. And it means that they're very good against commanders in that way, because even if you degun down 2, 3, 4 of them, there's usually a couple more to replace them. You can see lackluster damage here as they struggle to take out these construction towers in this T2 laboratory and all the rest, but the more and more of them that you build up, the better and better they get. They're also relatively quick, so you can kind of think of them like almost like a assault unit. Legion has kind of an overall prevailing trend that is essentially that they have units, all their lighter units are kind of split in twos, right? So out of their vehicle lab, they have the Wheelie, which is a little scout craft, but they also have the Helios, which is a light tank. A couple of amphibious salamander, by the way, causing havoc in the backline, eventually paralyzed at great expense right here. As Obelix X, are we going to go for a capture command? Or are we going to go for a capture command? I'd respect you a whole lot if you did. Oh, we're going to reclaim it. Okay, you know what? I would say that's the second best decision right there. Oh, unfortunately, we didn't quite get it because we didn't turn off fire at will. But it was still a good idea, and I have to give credit where credit is due for a good idea or two. Bombers coming in at a huge angle as they move towards the green base with no anti-air available at this point. That is a dead commander if ever I did see one. Bombs away. Wind turbines pop, metal extractors explode. Bombers are more than happy to continue their rampage, and very hardly any anti-air is actually available. Loads of shuriken are here. Not going to do much against the bombers, unfortunately. Here, the air commander now a little bit shy on energy. Those advanced solars are quite nice. Actually, yeah, you know what? With the advanced solars, I would say that this is actually fairly well cleaned up. Oh, that hurts. T2 lab in the backline does go down. No anti-air response still. I would like to point out that this is a vehicle commander that decided to go for the chainsaw rather than going for the anti-air trucks, which are markedly better. I mean, drastically better. Wow. Well, what an overwhelming advantage for the blue commander after ravaging multiple bases here on the front line, knocking entirely the orange commander out of the game, only to suddenly have a dozen or so bombers above their head and dropping their payload. 15 bombers still up and standing, and we still have not finished this anti-air truck. Oh, we do have one. One AA truck, not quite going to be enough, at least not to stop that lab from getting dissected. You know what? Silver lining here, we are starting a fusion, so at least that metal has a place to go. Bombers are coming back around. Oh my goodness. Hopefully we have, there we go. Okay, chainsaw finally firing away here, and we have some of those bombers falling. Still quite a few of them up and running. Yeah, exactly a dozen now. They're trying to find targets. At this point, the bombers are like running out of targets here. AA truck has not moved. Oh, is it enough? Oh, just barely, not quite enough. Yeah, losing those bombers. Oh, and there we go. The AA does finally get a great connection. All right. At the end of it all, Eradicator comes up as well, and finally the T1 bombers are shot down. But that was horrifying. A devastating attack right there from the pink commander, the hot pink commander, managing to put those bombers in the air and in position to ravage the blue team. Is it enough, though? Well, I happen to know from the replay timer, and you would happen to know from the bar on the bottom of the screen, that it's not quite over yet. The lightning tanks will be working on cleaning up. Oh, nice reclaim micro right there. That was snazzy. Reclaim the solar panel to get the full value back. That was absolutely unnecessary, but I love to see it anyways. I love to highlight little micro moments like that. It's so big beyond our reason. You kind of have so many things going on all at once. You miss a lot of those precious little moments. And the gladiator tanks are kind of falling off, yeah. Victor is essentially a micro stud. The whole point of this commander at this point is just to keep these tanks doing as efficient of damage as possible. The Cyan commander owns no property, aside from a couple of solar panels and the LLT to spend the actual energy. A couple of Phobos running in. I don't mind the effort, but those are far outclassed at this point in the game. We're going to need to go for something a little sturdier. Either hoplites out of the T2 bot lab, or of course you can go for some of these quick shots, which we are seeing right now. Nasty little critters, the quick shots. They are the other end of the harassment paradigm here. I guess you have gladiators, which are like somewhat fast, somewhat heavy-hitting unit, and the quick shots, which are a ridiculously fast, ridiculously heavy-hitting unit, but with virtually no sustain whatsoever. Yeah, they're very, very squishy. Like I said, Armada is the Legion is the master of mixing, of splitting units into their core constituent parts and making those into two different units. Salamanders rushing forward over here. Yeah, where is our armored response? We have lightning tanks moving in. Decurion are pretty good, actually. One of those things is that a lot of times people will underestimate Decurion, but you kind of have to think of these like a T2 unit. I think it was, I want to say it was...
Destroyed.
Oh gosh, I'm going to get the name wrong. I want to say it was Shadow. It was one of the Legion developers joined us one time on the live streams. Those are Saturdays, 12 to 4, by the way, in case you're interested in joining. This weekend will actually be another round of Nation Wars. We just finished up the qualifiers, so we'll be into the first round of Nation Wars this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. So tune in for that. That'll be really bright and early. It'll be 6 a.m. PDT, so we will likely have a 6 a.m. event and then an intermission and then an after party, as I like to call it, after that. Anyways, as one of the Legion devs pointed out one time, the Decurion are kind of designed as a T2 unit that costs T1 pricing. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that these are extremely expensive, but you also get a huge amount of value out of them. And so essentially what you can think of it is like you have a unit that can go up against T2 but is significantly more expensive than T2. You have to pay like a expanded T1 price for it. It does mean that in tricky situations like the one we see right now, where salamanders are also kind of in that same boat as far as, you know, overall not design goes, but as overall cost effectiveness goes, you can kind of see that the Decurion can hold their own against some of these very specific T2 units. Quick shot speed microed around, I love it. Yeah, these are so pesky because they sneak into the backline. It only takes one of their little volleys in order to kill a bunch of eco. Wind turbines, metal extractors. You can kill that con pretty quick too if they would just spread out and target it. Yeah, there they go. Ooh, one more volley would have killed it, but they're not going to be able to. But yeah, I mean, this is great. Quick shots causing havoc in the backline, forcing these units, forcing a response, first of all. This is now several almost over 1,000 metal that has been devoted to this southern side. And it's forced these T1 units back on the defense, far away from the front line, where now we have proper T3 rolling out on the field. the Javelin, amphibious raider minigun wielding mechabots. It's like a mech suit, except there's nobody inside. I actually heard a little rumor on the Reddit recently that there's an internal lore documentation that's been in the works recently. It kind of blew my mind to read that on a random Reddit post all of a sudden, but very excited to see what that is all about. For now, though, I'm going to continue making things up, like Legion. Cramming little, I don't know, little alien pieces inside their mech suits or something like that. Man, these things are cool. Far and away one of my favorite units in the entire game, let alone the Legion catalog. I mean, who doesn't love dual miniguns? I say if you can wield dual miniguns, you've achieved cool status. It's just, you know, what else is there? You've peaked. Not to mention their fabulous little anti-air cannon that they do have mounted on their shoulders, making them a fairly effective raider, just like all the other raider bots. This northern side is looking worse and worse. The fact that we haven't reclaimed hardly any of this is starting to be concerning. The blue team, that is. The yellow commander does appear to be trying to, at the very least. Has a T2 constructor out there eating metal off the front lines. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's the most efficient way to do it, but it is absolutely better than nothing. Wouldn't mind. Yeah, we do have a bot lab. Let's get some res bots out there. Looks like we are trying. Yeah, there we go. Okay, we do have res bots queued up. Man, I love that. The other side of the caster's curse is when you 100% nail it. Oh, yeah. Can't self-D when you're paralyzed. The self-destruct circuitry is frozen as well. You'd have to do it manually. Oh, well, okay. Might actually get the opportunity to. These guys... Oh, they're going to self-D. Okay. That is a valiant sacrifice and a very difficult call to make. Oh, we were 1 second away! Little bit unsure. I'm detecting a little bit of unsurety about whether we're pushing in here or not. This is a Praetorian with the strangest legs in all of Bar. Definitely reminds me of the Titans from Warhammer 40k, with just a ridiculous array of weaponry mounted on every shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hand. They have lost their napalm missiles, unfortunately. It was one of my favorite parts about them, but it's been replaced by dual shotgun cannons, which are quite effective. These have been compared to demons before. Demons, but on a budget. I would say they aptly fill that role quite well. They have their little high-impulse missiles, as well as a little bit of anti-air. I think they have a flat cannon, but they are paralyzable, just like a demon as well. Not bad. Proper bulls are now up and running, but they are now, of course, going up against proper heavy tanks as well. We have those tigers rolling out of the lab. This is where the difference is made, though. A couple of resbot behind all of this, eating up all the Decurion corpses, and meaning that these heavy tanks can roll out of the lab way quicker. I mean, man, look at this stream. Rowan Morris, not playing around, knows the Cortex strategy is simply to go for more big gun. And it doesn't help that these bulls are kind of diving into the mix here either. These really want to be hiding from a distance as much as possible. You need Starlights to efficiently fight all this. Yeah, Eviscerator not going to be worth it at this point. Those units have already hit the base. We are reclaiming it, which is quite nice. Ooh, okay, smooth reclaim. Barely manages to get that reclaim, but it does mean the metal is saved somewhat. But this northern side is completely broken. Yeah, southern side has been harassed to death multiple times. At this point, though, we do have a Soul Invictus. The 23,500 metal, 615,000 energy, Gigantonata Madagosaurus. Combined a couple of them there for you. I was an avid Ark player, Ark Survival Evolved. I think it probably clocked 2,000 hours in that game at the minimum. Love me some dinosaurs. That game went absolutely off the rails. That was talking about a series that just kind of took the original idea and ran far and away out of the field and into another universe with it. I don't mind it, but I stopped playing well before that happened. It does mean that I acquired a ridiculous scope of understanding about dinosaurs. As hilariously portrayed as they were in that game.
Has died.
Very fun to look at. We've got a defensive tremor here, which is kind of an interesting idea. For one thing, very dangerous, because if it starts shooting at anything moving anywhere close to any of your own structures, you may as well consider them dead. But I mean, yeah, you know, it's kind of cool. in a very weird kind of a sense. It's very cool. Very, very demure. Not the... As an Armada commander, it's such an imprecise tool doing what should be a precise task makes me very confused and upset. Yeah. That's how I'll put it. Mass Shuriken here, though, to try and stop all this. And frankly speaking, there's nowhere near enough anti-air. We have a single AA truck moving out. I mean, Shuriken numbers aren't that high so far, but... yeah, the Shuriken are going to do numbers here. Meanwhile, Sol Invictus marching its way across the field here. Sol Invictus is sort of like a turbocharged... I guess I would call it a turbocharged Juggernaut. Twin heat ray accelerator cannons, as well as a AA flat cannon. And just to round things out, it's got a couple riot cannons under its arms as well, just, you know, for good measure. The spam here. Save top. I think Jug Thingy wins the game. There you go. You heard it here first, folks. Jug Thingy. I never realized how thin this guy's legs are, actually. I feel like we're also not doing him I feel like we're doing a disservice not giving this... whoops, sorry about that. Not giving this guy a proper camera angle. This camera mode is very sensitive. Worth it for the epic shots of the Sol Invictus, though. The power of the sun. As it sets behind the Sol Invictus. Isn't that a cool graphic? I love how beautiful this game is. Some of those heat rays, too. I have got to commend the Legion team for what a stellar job they've done. Balance or not, I don't want to hear any complaints because it's cool. It's very cool. And at the end of the day, isn't that what we're all here for? Big robot fighting big robot. Those incinerator cannons, super interesting to watch. The way that they work is so strange. Independently targeting and then firing away at whatever they can find. There's no, like, control over them, which is one of the weird things about this. Like, the Juggernaut, you can set target, but it almost feels like this thing, you should be able to set target multiple targets. Like, you should be able to click multiple targets, and each heat ray would lock onto multiple of them. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I'm asking for too much. Then again, maybe I'm only beginning to scratch the surface of what's possible. I know getting this far took a lot of engine updating. A lot of bugs in the system that didn't allow heat rays to track properly, and now they sure can. It really unlocked Legion's potential. I'm really glad that that didn't die. There was a point in time where Legion heat rays couldn't track like this. It eliminated a huge portion of their catalog, if you really think about it. Like, every heat ray weapon. Northern side in so much trouble. The red team really upset about losing those commanders at this point, certainly. That's pretty much the only thing that has any hope of stopping this Sol Invictus, aside from Juggernauts themselves. It now marches onwards towards the base, and with a little bit of flak anti-air baked right into it, it makes for the perfect cover unit to allow for these guys to push on forward. We've got one of these good old-fashioned Chiron, keeping the skies clear here as well, trying to fire away at some Shuriken on the ground, which are mostly being attacked actually by the by the Tremors. Very strange. There he is, Mr. Night Fury. Ooh, accidentally reveals himself. Suddenly attacked by the Sol Invictus here, yeah. Degunning that Sol Invictus before the entire front line fell would have been ideal, of course. Not going to be the case this time.
Commander destroyed.
We've got a dragon in the back line. Fighters guarding the dragon. It's looking for Aphis. It wants bases to snipe. It's looking for him. The green base is what it's found. Oh, are we going to go in on it? Looks like we will. Okay, there we go. Firing those underbelly cannons. Oh, but it doesn't target down the build power. Wow, it got reclaimed out of the air, I believe, right there by the green build power. Yikes. Bases are falling. Carrie's heavy assault anti-swarm tanks are moving forward as well. Kind of the perfect cover for one of these Sol Invictus, as you can see. For 2600 metal, they come with a bunch of impulse. Their Gatling gun does decent single target damage as well. They can defend single targets from a lot of damage, and what better target to defend than the King of the Sun, Sir Invictus himself, marching his way across the battlefield. Look at that AA flak going to. It's not impressive. Like, it's not the craziest AA that's ever existed, but the fact that it's attached to a nearly immortal Colossus, yeah, it makes it very difficult to deal with. All of a sudden, there will always be a constant stream of anti-air flying towards your units, and it's not a bad amount of anti-air either. It's not like, you know, the little wimpy missiles that Kargan has back in their back path, or Marauders, for example. It's a legit anti-air solution. Carries here having a field day. Another premier target for those carries would, of course, be build power and other economy structures. Their AoE makes very quick work of all that. Fusion reactors do pop. And despite the gunships up in the air firing away at these, there just isn't enough of them to stop these in time. More and more bases are crumbling. Chimera coming up and running right here. The 750 metal pop-up multi-weapon defense turret. Very interesting kind of a structure. It has a, very similar to the carries, actually. I think it's almost identical. Has a big riot cannon mounted on its nose, and then two twin medium Gatling cannons. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's a weird mix of different units, and because it has such short range, I would almost consider it like a, I guess, a fallback option. But it's one of those static defenses you can't really use as an offense, I guess I would say. Tremor finally sieging the base right here. It's a slow and tedious process, but one that is essentially inevitable. From such extreme range, they managed to blow up those fusion reactors and saturate that entire area with so much firepower. Sol Invictus headed towards the main facility. We got plenty of build power, but absolutely zero units. T3 anyway. Look at those riot cannons. Man, they clear out the spam nicely. You're not going to ungroup your spam. Those riot cannons are going to do wonderful things for the enemy. Aphis bundle in a load of trouble. And the entire maroon base pops. What a beautiful play from the blue team. Exploiting a gigantic weakness in the front line, the lack of T3, and the lack of commanders means that a single Sol Invictus with 320 kills total will be able to clear out most of the enemy backline essentially all on its own. With the support here of these carries, which have been phenomenal, trading splendidly against these Shiva, actually, which is cool to see. The northern side begins to fall. Twin Guard not going to hold up enough. Yeah. Shuriken diving on top of everything is a last-ditch hurrah, a last moment's celebration as the vote fails for the surrender. I think we'll go ahead and speed things up here as we watch the final base go. Oh, kablooey. The yellow commander still trying to produce their way out of this, but frankly speaking, with a over 500% advantage in both metal and energy production, this match is obviously drawing to its finale. Elven Legion gets to showcase itself. More and more nowadays, Legion doesn't really have to try so hard. It's not like I have to feature Legion in games. It just happens very naturally, which is cool to see. It really feels like Legion has matured into something that is entirely its own. It has grown out of its roots as a Cortex clone, as a scavenged faction, as a cobbled together piece of equipment and whatnot. They actually feel like they've taken on their own purpose, and their own purpose is devastation. To conquer a planet with tanks and bullets and heat. As the yellow commander runs away full of cowardice. And we begin to bomb this other random base that was inherited. Rowan Morris is finally jumped upon by a whole bunch of units. Oh no, actually that's not the yellow commander. There it is. There we go.
Commander has died.
GG as the blue team takes the victory here today with a push right down the center using those ultra heavy units and managing to crack the defenses of the red team. That's what a pro level game looks like. and I sure hope you enjoyed. Thanks a ton for watching, everybody, and I sure hope you did find something useful out in this game. As you can see, wow, splendid economy for the yellow commander. However, the next two economies were just barely a little shorter, which does mean the blue team had at least double the resource production, and that graph kind of tells the whole story. Have a lovely rest of your day, folks. Thanks a ton for tuning in. Feel free to join the Discord, which we just, join the YouTube channel by subscribing. We just crossed 13,000 subscribers, which is a huge, monumental feat for me, and I really appreciate each and every single one of you. Looking forward to 1,000 more as we continue to grow the Brightworks and Beyond Our Reason together. Have a fabulous rest of your day, though, folks. I'll let you out of here, and I hope you have a good one. Peace out.